everybody. This is an MS Neuro TV production made by MS Views and News. It's a virtual online program which we began virtually in 2020, I believe. So for tonight, well, again, that's me, and now let's go to the next one. All right, and again, we're supported by MS Views and News, and tonight's program is MSCN Care Partnerships. All right, and Patricia Pagnotta will be speaking about emotional support, the resources, roles, and communication. So again, my name is Stuart Schlossman. I'm president and founder of MS Views and News. Tonight's program, Patricia Pagnotta is a nurse practitioner. After Tricia speaks, I have two care partners that are waiting in the shadows, so to speak, and that's Howard Brenner and Annie Joseph. They are both care partners. Howard is the care partner to his lovely wife, and Annie is the care partner to her lovely husband. And take it away, Tricia.
I just am going to give a little more information about myself in case you don't know me. I am a nurse practitioner. I am highly active in the MS community. I have served as a president of the IMSN, past president and secretary. Anyhow, I've been very active with them. I'm also very active in the CMSC, and I help with our MS Center here in Maitland, Florida, which is in Central Florida, and run a support group meeting here. So I have been pleasured to be able to speak with for Stuart's group a few different times, but this is my first time doing a program like this. So rather informal in that I'm just going to be talking to you and telling you about my perceptions of things, and then you're going to be able to ask me several questions. And so Stuart asked me tonight to talk about emotional support, resources, roles, and communication. And so when I think about emotional support, the first thing is, do you know what your emotions are? How do you know how you're doing on emotional level? And so, you know, I like to term that as how resistant are you? How resilient, resistant, how have you prepared yourself for what you're facing? Now, if you're newly diagnosed, you don't even know what you're facing yet. So you don't know what to prepare for. If you've been having MS for a while, maybe you feel, well, I've got this down. I know what's going to happen to me. And you know, I would love to tell you that you're a pro and you know what's going to happen to you, and life is always going to be the same, but it's not. Life is not the same for any individual, and every person that has MS, it's unique to them. So you have to figure out where you are and how you're doing and how you can best then get together what you need for you. So where are you? Well, what's your personality? Are you an individual who will go out and look for information? Are you an individual that, oh, you're going to put your head in the sand, and when it, you know, somebody comes, drags me out of the sand, I'm going to seek information? Or are you a person who, well, I'm going to give and take, and I don't know? But you need to, from my perspective, improve or maximize your resilience, because this is a disease that unfortunately we don't have a cure for. It's unpredictable, and at any time something can happen to you that can change your level of function. Maybe change your level of function for only a short period of time, but it might change your level of function for a longer period of time. So you need to be prepared for that. And so, you know, when I speak about resilience, one of the things I think about is staying centered and focused on yourself to some degree. Know how you're doing, what type of things you need. Don't get lost in the clutter of too many other things, because there's going to be a lot of things, and you need to stay centered on what is occurring for you. Then you have to think about, well, how am I going to manage stress? Because stress is going to be there. How am I going to prepare for stress? What type of coping strategies might I have? Can I do things like deep breathing if I become stressed in a moment? Is there a technique that I can use? Can I use visualization? Can I go to a place in my mind that settles me, makes me feel calm? Okay, I've got this. Give me enough seconds to really get myself together. Maybe for you, that might be actually leaving the environment and going for a walk. Maybe it's for you putting on your favorite song for a period of time. The other thing that helps people manage sometimes stresses is journaling. And some people, that's foreign to them. And some people have been journaling their whole lives, you know, diaries or whatnot. Some people are very good at keeping lists, keeping notes. But in journaling, you can write down how you're doing, the successes you've had. If you're frustrated about something, you can write it all down in your journal, and you may be able to go back to it a day or two and figure, I can't believe I was worried about that, and help you build a strong base for yourself. The other type of activities for building resilience and decreasing stress, physical activities. And so things that you can do to help your body relax. Stretching exercises are very good. And so you can do a lot of stretching exercises in a chair. So if you are not somebody that can be out there running, you can do stretching exercises in a chair. You can get different devices, vibration type of devices or heating and cooling type of devices to help you be able to move. There's bands and different things. You can have a physical therapist and occupational therapist help you work with tools that can help you stretch. The other thing is, yes, there's nothing better than a little bit of aerobic activity. So if you can walk, taking a good 30-minute walk might de-stress you significantly. If you can't walk, maybe you have a pool or something. Like Stuart said, it was 95 degrees here. It is definitely getting pool weather in Florida. So something that can help you. Then try to practice on problem focused. You know, what is the problem that you're dealing with? And how can you resolve that? So again, this is another opportunity for maybe journaling or writing things down. What is the problem? What can I do about that? And what can I do about that? So if you have a problem that there's something you can do to make that better, then you can work on that. If you have a problem, but there's nothing that you can do anything about, then you can't do anything about that. But maybe if you have a problem that you can't do something about, maybe your care partner can do something about it. So who can you enlist in your network of persons who might be able to help you with that problem? So it's very important to stay focused on that. It's important to watch your mood, pay attention to what your mood is, because, you know, as many people have said, it's 90% attitude. So keep your mood in check. A lot of times a care partner or some best friend might be eager to help you with, hey, you know, settle down. You know, or distract you. So that's another good use of a care partner. It's very important to build relationships. And so building relationships, maintaining a good relationship with your care partner, making good relationships with people who will help you be stronger and help you get through things that you may need to hear from somebody who can tell you what their thoughts are about a particular problem you're having. So that is really important with building resistance. And I think that's exceptional for emotional support. But what other type of emotional support can you get? Well, there are many ways to get emotional support, and you can get that from, there's organizations that you can call, hotlines and different things. There are through social media, most of the MS large organizations have people that you can call. The MS Society has a navigator. The MSA has a care journey person. So you can get into foundations that can help you. I caution people when they're looking at social media, be a little bit more careful in those situations as to what you're doing. But resources can include things like, who's ever heard of a TED Talk? I still, some people that don't know what a TED Talk is. It's a very short talk from an expert. And so in the MS world, we have MS Teams work. And so that's part of an initiative by the CMSC, the Consortium of MS Centers. And you can go onto their website and look for MS Teamworks. And so those are short little venues that you can listen to a variety of topics from the people who live it, either a patient, a care partner, a neurologist, a nurse practitioner, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, all types of people. And of course, MS Views and News, resources from MS Views and News are above and beyond. There isn't anything that Stuart doesn't make public. And so you can go into MS Views and News and look for, oh, I don't know how to figure this out. I'm going to have to go for disability. There's lots of different resources within any of these larger organizations that can help you out. So important to look at those type of things. When you look at your role as an individual who may have MS, what does that mean? So, well, I don't know. Are you a mother? Are you a father? Do you work? Do you have a mother and a father that are still alive and that you have to take care of? So you are an individual within a group of people who are interconnected with you. And so at any one point, your role can change. You can be the individual who's giving care to your mother, or you could be the individual that's caring for a young child, or then you can be the individual who is receiving care. So depending upon who you are and where you are in that network at any time, you will fluctuate between how you support and use that resilience and tenacity to help other people. And it's okay when you're functioning in those roles to acknowledge the fact that you have MS and that your participation in some activities might be a little bit different than another person in that network. And so your role in the family, mother, father, husband, wife, you're part of the support, financial support. Depending upon where you are at that moment in time, you might need to consider what resources that you can utilize in that space. And so oftentimes I find that people who have MS don't fully utilize the care partners and network that they have around them. Well, they know I have MS. They should know I need this. They should know I need that. Or I don't want to be seen as I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't ask for help. I try to do it all because that's always the way I've been. Well, that shouldn't be the way you are. Use your spoons wisely and get help from people who can help you, who are wanting to be there for you. But expect that sometimes those resources might have to straighten you out a little bit sometimes. Hey, your mood is lacking a little bit, or have you thought about it this way? So be willing to listen and change and support. When it comes to roles outside of your network of close individuals, let's say at work, whether you disclose or not that you have MS is entirely up to you. There's no reason that you have to disclose that you have MS. And depending upon your work environment, you may not want to share with people that you have MS. Some people that work in very small companies, they don't want to share because they don't need any special assistance, and they don't want to be looked at like, oh, they might need special assistance. The other thing is, when you share, you have to be willing to educate, because there's a good chance that you're going to share with somebody and maybe they're not going to ever have known anybody that has MS. And so once you share that you have MS, you're going to wind up having to educate them potentially about. So again, think about that wisely and know that you don't have to disclose your MS to anyone that you don't want to. I think of this specifically when people, young people, or individuals who are old, anyone who's dating, anyone who's out there socially. Again, you don't have to tell the world. And if I was, I can't mention dating again, but if I was in the dating scenario, I mean, I remember way back when I was in it, I didn't tell my husband everything he needed to know about me until I knew I was going to be serious with him. So again, you don't have to wear a flag that says I have MS. And when it's right for you to share, you share that information. So lastly, I want to touch on communication. So it's very important that you develop an effective communication style, that you are able to share with people around you how you're feeling, what you're doing, how they can help you, how they do something that is not pleasing to you, or something that they do that is very pleasing. So you need to be able to do that. You also need to, in communication, you need to be able to listen. So a big part of communication is listening to that individual. Did my spouse understand what I said? When they're talking to you, did you hear what they were saying? You may toss it off, well, I have MS, I shouldn't have to remember all those things. But maybe you weren't listening when your husband or wife, care partner, spoke to you about something. And so again, be in the moment, listen, and be ready to give them some time and attention, because oftentimes many people may think they take, and giving is important to your caregivers, and sometimes all they want from you is to have a nice conversation, to go back to times where you talked about something other than MS, or did something that wasn't evolved around MS. But importantly, when you communicate with persons, always put it in, well, this is how I feel. This affects me. Don't place blame. Well, I have MS, so you should do this, or you never, try to put it in the perspective of you. This is what I need. It would help me if you do this. Don't try to put that person in a defensive mode, or put them in a situation where potentially they think they're not effective for you. So that's important, that when you're communicating in that way. And the other thing is, communication is more than just talking. Communication is body language. So think about when you're having a discussion, what is your body saying? I out in the world, I see people in restaurants and whatnot, and I see them on their phones, and they're in a restaurant side by side, like, and they're on their phones. I'm like, what if you're on your phone all the time when your care partner is trying to have a discussion with you? Do they feel that you're listening to them? Same goes for them. If they're on their device, do you feel like they're listening to you? So again, body language, looking them, asking questions to really make sure you understand what they're saying, and being willing and eager to be in their lives is very important. And you'll find that that makes situations much better. Now, when it comes to communication and individuals, one of the things that people ask me a lot about is how will my child? I have MS, and I have had patients through the years that didn't tell their children that they had MS, and I wish I could interview those children, but later, because I have patients that have been with me decades, it comes to find that the children come in and they knew something was different about mom or dad long before mom or dad told them. And so you have to find a way to speak effectively with your children. And it's just like any other communication you have with your child. Give them what need at the moment in time and what they can understand. You don't have to load on them every little thing, but have a sixth sense that there's something going on. So it's best if you can share with them and allay them of any of their fears potentially. And there's good resources for that. There's resources through the MS Society and also the MSAA on parenting and how to share with your children. There are camps, there are books that I hear are being written. So there are ways that you can communicate with children. So that's important to keep in mind. Sometimes it's difficult to keep balance in a relationship. And so when you're having a difficult time and your care provider is there and they're with you all the time, say you're in the process of a relapse, and your needs are much greater than theirs are at that moment in time. Again, think about effectively communicating with them what your needs are at that time, and then give them time to share with you what they did that day or what else they've done, or ask them about a hobby of theirs. Ask them, hey, did you do something today to help them de-stress? So that's effectiveness in giving and sharing with a care partner. So I just want to make sure that I covered the resources thoroughly. And so I encourage persons to go to the CMSC, which is the Consortium of MS Centers, the IOMSN, which is the International Organization of Multiple Sclerosis Nurses. There is the Coalition for MS. There is the MS Society. There is the MS Foundation. There is the MS Association of America. And by least, there is MS Views and News. And every drug company has a website And yes, part of what they want to do is share with you about their drug, but they also on their websites will have educational tools and different things that you can do as far as management of your disease. The other thing is, I ask people, as I told you about the MS Teamworks, which is like the TED Talk for MS, you can use resources outside of MS. So think about that. There's lots of good resources available to us on the internet, and we most of the time can get them right at our fingers. So feel free, if you're having a problem with, I just can't get myself out of this rut, I really feel like I need something positive, Google that and you can find resources. It doesn't have to necessarily be about MS. So with that, I want to close. I know Stuart had me on a time frame. I really want to be here to answer the questions that you have. So I'm going to close my mouth.
A question that I have for you, and before I get into the questions, right? For another good place to get resources from for different care partnering programs that have nothing to do with MS, like Tricia was saying, is, you know, if you're able to get on the internet, and if you're able to be on Facebook, you just type in caregivers or care partners, and there are hundreds of different sites on there, you know, people that are care partners talking with each other. So it's a great place for you all to go, and maybe to get some help that you can't get from speaking with family and friends who, if they're not a care partner, they really probably have no idea what you're talking about, and they really can't answer you because they're not in the same position. Okay, so if you could get in with like a care partner support group, that would be a great thing. And I don't know if Tricia said that or not, but again, the from what I heard, and it could be from here, that our internet was screwed up also because of the storm. All right, so the first question I have for you is, I'm a very private person, not me, but the person writing it. I do not share my MS with family and did not include them in my challenges upon diagnosis. Is it too late, 20 years in? And what might I do to even suggest speaking with them?
Excellent question. And I feel bad for you for the last 20 years that your closest family you may not have shared, and you may have missed opportunities for them to help you. But I would start with the smaller group of your family members that you're the most close with, and tell them about your life. Tell them, you know, this is the way I coped with this, and I didn't want you to worry about me. Whatever thoughts you had as to why you did not share with them. Maybe the disease is so scary you didn't want to put them through. Maybe whatever it is, share that with them now and let them know how you're doing and what is it that you expect from them. I don't expect anything different from you. I just want you to know this. Or, you know, I'm having more difficulty here. Can you, when it comes to the holidays, can we help with the meals? Can I not have to make all the meals? Whatever it might be. So, but if it's been 20 years, you want to be prepared to explain why you did not say anything before now.
So thank you for that answer. I know a little bit about that person that just wrote that. So I think that 20 years ago, her children were much younger than they are now. And I think that it would have been just difficult for her to explain to young teenagers about that. So, you know, I guess that's the problem that we have, is how to explain MS to, you know, your children. And it seems to always go back to that. So she's not really saying about this affecting her or her children as adults, but you know, she didn't address the issue with them 20 years ago.
And I would challenge her to analyze, did her children ever think that she was like every other, you keep saying she, so was she like every other mother? Did she not do something And so just give them a perspective on how you are. And there are resources to help you tell your family members. So again, all of the societies, all of the organizations have that in how to help you communicate that. The other thing is you can go on to one of these advocate groups, and you could actually talk to somebody who's been there, done that.
So taking it a step further, and this has nothing to do with this person, but if the person had children when they were first diagnosed, and now those children are much older and they have their own children, and those children now, as far as being grandchildren to the person that's speaking, how do they get the grandchildren though to more, if the children were not really brought in on everything that's going on, how do they actually get the grandchildren then to understand it?
That is a little bit of a challenge if you don't plan on in getting the children. So if you get the children, then you can approach those grandchildren with just, well, I have this condition, and here's how this condition affects me. This condition is part of what I live with on a day-to-day basis, and this is how it affects me. So again, focus on the good things that this may have gotten or helped you with, but then make sure that they understand how you might have a bad day here and there. And if I don't go to your recital and your other grandparents do, it's not because I didn't want to be there. It's because I have this condition, and sometimes I can't do this, but I would like to do this with you.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so going on to another person who's writing, can or should children be care partners? Similar.
So that is probably family unique. And when you say children be care partners, adult children, definitely. Adult children can be care partners. Even teenage children to some degree. What you have to make sure is that you're not, because of your care needs, not robbing them of the ability to develop in their way. So yes, they can help you, but they can't be everything and anything, because they're going to have to find their way in the world to some degree. And so your job is to let them find that. So you're going to need more than one care partner if the care partner is your child that's not an adult, a full-fledged adult.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so going on to other things, I do have more questions for you, but first thing is that I want to let people that are online know that they too can ask questions. All right, and again, you just go to the top of the toolbar on the right side, hit that red box, right, and type in your questions. And also know that after we're finished with the questions for Patricia Pagnotta, that we have 2 care partners coming online, and I will be hitting them up with different questions for them as care partners. All right, so next question I have, Patricia, is what might I do if my care partner is overbearing?
That's a communication issue. And so again, you don't want to say to your care partner, you're overbearing. You want to say, I appreciate that you care about me, and I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or I feel like I'm capable of doing this, and I would like you to help me do this. I would like you to let me do this, or when you do this for me, I feel like this. So they may not appreciate that they're overbearing. They love you. They're trying to care for you. They want to make everything right for you, and they may not appreciate that they're stifling, giving you too much, hugging you too close. They just want what they want for you. So you have to let them know how you are, what you need from them, and how it makes you feel when they do certain things.
All right, thank you for that. So I'm going to take that from another perspective now. So you're talking about the patient saying that the care partner is overbearing. What if the care partner feels that the patient just doesn't want to really do enough for themselves and just expects the care partner to do all for them because that's just what they want them to do? You know, they want to make it so that way they don't have to do anything. You know, they don't feel well. And even though they might be able to do it, but, you know, patient, whomever, I don't feel like doing that today. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like doing anything. I know I could get up. And if he or she wasn't there, I guess I'll have to get up. But they are here, so why should I get up? Just let them do everything for me. How does that work?
So you have to carefully assess what that person can do. And the part that you said, if I wasn't here, this person would do that. And so once you share with the person who's affected how you feel like there might be things that they could do that they're not doing, and I really need your help with this. Can you help me with this? You might not even want to say you're not doing this. Can you help me with this? Could you do this? And then maybe they need to go out for a while. Maybe they just need to give that individual space. Maybe the person who's wanting the other person to do everything is fearful of what might happen to them if they don't rest and relax. So again, that is counseling, getting together with a counselor and working those things out would be good. But I think support groups also help work that out. So if you're active in an MS support group, then oftentimes you'll hear people how they've worked out those situations. So it's good to be active in a support group and a partner support group, and they have them that are not for MS, because there's many care people that don't care for people who have MS.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have like 3 more questions for you, and then we're going to move on with the other set, okay? And that is, the first one is from another person online, and she asks, well, she says, my neighbor's super nosy, and every time something happens, he tells my grown children before I even get the chance. I feel it should be my decision. So that's not about our care partner, but still, what does she tell that nosy neighbor? Get out of here. Buzz off. Mind your own business. About things like that. I know I would.
Yeah. Well, so again, I would approach that neighbor with, this is how I feel. I want to be able to tell my children. If you think I'm not going to tell my children, you know, I want to be able to break it to them in a way, whatever happened. So if you just give me a couple days, and if you haven't heard, then you can tell my children. But if it's something life-threatening, that's different, obviously. But if they just want to spread gossip about mom or dad, wait a couple days, because, you know, I think I'm going to tell my children that. I don't think I need you to tell my children that. But I appreciate that you want to help me, and end it with a positive. I know you want to help me, but I feel and I need to do this for myself.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next question. Are there opportunities for respite care for a caregiver, as hospice provides care while the caregiver takes a physical break?
I am sure there are. but I am not aware of one that is specifically for MS. And so you don't have to have a terminal condition to be under hospice care or to be in some of these care situations for persons that have chronic diseases like Alzheimer's or any of the other neurologic conditions. So it might not be labeled MS, but if you have a chronic medical condition, you can look for support within agencies for that.
Right. So to take that a step further, for those that are seniors, I have seen often where there are things online, there are things in the local newspapers or the local flyer, so to speak, that comes out in areas where for senior care, they do offer respite for like for the care partner. So they have somebody that will go to the homes of the person that is not even just disabled physically, but even disabled mentally, that, to give the care partner a chance to get out and do things for themselves, go to bingo, go do this, go do that, go dancing, be with her friends or his friends. And so, if it's available as a senior partner thing, it might just be available, from your local township as well. Just saying.
And so, Stuart, I misunderstood what you were talking about respite. So there are lots of agencies that will help with time that is like 4 hours a day for 3 days
Right.
a week. There's
Exactly.
a lot of those type of in chronic disease states. So yes, and you can look through the home health agencies. They have connections with them. You can look through the Senior Resource Alliance. They have resources for people who are not seniors through the Senior
That's right.
Resource Alliance.
Sorry. That's why I was getting to that. I knew you knew that.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Well, I don't know if it's a question or not, but a person writes, I disagree with not having young children be a care partner. My boys are my care partners since they were 5 years old, and they are the most incredible, compassionate, and successful adults I know. My oldest is an Army Ranger. I'm going to have to back up on this. My oldest is an Army Ranger and knows everything about taking care of someone who is chronically ill. Okay, so now you have a challenger.
Well, I think that's probably a unique situation. I don't think that every so you never say never. Yes, I didn't mean to blanketly say that never. But I think that when I think of a care partner, I think of someone who gives most of the time. So if you're saying that you had children and your children were aware of your disease state and your children helped care for you, but they weren't your one single only care partner, then that's a little different. I have met several young adults that have talked about how knowing that their parent had a chronic medical condition changed their whole level of responsibility and purpose in life. So, but a care partner, I was thinking of someone who is more 24/7, very close type of individual.
All right, so that wraps up what we're doing with you. And now I'm going to ask, well, firstly, thank you very much, Tricia, for being online with us. And I'm sure that there are the patients and care partners that are online that appreciate what you say. So now I'm going to ask Howard and Annie to sign in. So everybody, we got Howard Brenner, and Howard has got that very, very unique beard with all the different colors in it. And Annie, well, she looks fabulous. She's got all of her colors in her outfit there. It looks fantastic, okay? Nice smile, too. All right, so Annie is a caregiver to her husband, and Howard is a caregiver to his wife. And I have questions for them, and I'm sure that you all might as well, but I'm going to hit them up with some questions first. And So being a care partner for a person living with chronic illness like MS is a very personal and unique experience. So we wanted to bring together a group who was willing to share their experiences. Care partnering can be deeply rewarding and can evolve through a relationship with spouses, friends, and family. The care partner can also have their own physical and emotional needs that cannot be overlooked. So my first question, I'm going to ask Annie first, and then I'm going to ask Howard. What type of care partner do you feel you are? Do you feel that maybe you're things like emotional support, physical assistance, assisting with management, care, appointments, medications? I got a lot to ask you all. So Annie, you take it away first and you let us know, what kind of care partner do you think you are?
I think I'm an everything care partner.
What kind?
I do everything you just said.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Do you want to expand on that at all? I mean, can you tell people like what it is that you do?
So emotional support is very big. It's very important, especially for my husband. Just being there, supporting him, encouraging him, pushing him, all of that. It just, it helps him a lot on a daily basis. But I do also help him when it comes to moving around sometimes. He has good days and bad days, so there are days where I may need to assist him, and there are going to be days where I may not need to assist him as much. I do help manage his medications and appointments, doctor's appointments. I normally do not let him go to any appointments alone. I like to be there because sometimes the information he receives, he may not come back and tell me completely. So it's important that I'm there and I'm involved so that I know what his care plan is.
Yes, thank you for that. And Howard, how would you answer all of this?
So I would say a little bit differently in the respect that my wife has been diagnosed since 2006, so we're going on I think 17 years here this coming fall. And in the early days, we were very together in terms of trying to understand, learn as much as we could about this. So I was part of that process. She's very introverted. I'm very extroverted. As Stuart, you may or may not realize. But so I had a lot of analytical kind of questions, kind of understanding the whats and the whys as best as we could, to get that information to her. And then as the years went on, I became her patient advocate even more, because as a lot of people may know, that a lot of the medications are coming through specialty pharmacies, and that's a very complex structure. So I was the one dealing with the doctors for the most part and the specialty pharmacies, and trying to understand that process. And I like to tell people in today that for a lot of cases, if it wasn't for me, she probably would not have started any of her medications or changed to additional medications, because it was a matter of, this is too complex, I don't want to deal with it, I'm just gonna kind of just let it go. So I was there for that purpose. Very personally, that converted into an opportunity for me in the last 7 years to be working in the specialty pharmacy industry, and I never had experience in that world before I had become her caregiver, with her diagnosis. But a lot of things as her journey has continued and grown. Now she doesn't drive as much. I'm the one that does 90% of the driving. She prefers not to drive. Little things like that. We help out. I help out each other. We both have our responsibilities here in the house, but I give her the space she needs to sleep and rest. During the day, after her, work hours are up and things like that.
Okay. Annie, what kind of difficulties do you see that Minaj has? Excuse me. Yes, all right. Now you know. But that he has, what are his big difficulties that he has?
Well, I want to say almost 2 years ago, he had 2 back-to-back relapses, and that after that, he was in rehab and hospitals for about 7 months approximately. And so since then, he's had a lot of difficulty walking. He's had a lot of difficulty even keeping his balance straight. So pretty much primary caretaker is me.
You do all the driving, or does he do driving also?
No, I do all the driving.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, Howard, what are the major difficulties that you see? You listed some, but what do you find most major that goes on with your wife?
I think we've been very fortunate. You know, in the early years she was diagnosed, which I don't think is a true diagnosis anymore, with the relapsing remitting. We were able to get on, you know, a DMD very quickly on some of the newer therapies back then, and she's moved through to therapies that have really done well for her. But what's extended out is the you know, just extreme exhaustion. You know, she used to be a lot more active, and that's a little bit of struggle for both of us too. You know, when we go out, we just happened to be in Maryland over the weekend for our daughter's graduation from her master's program, and there were, you know, a lot of times we were walking. We actually went to an Orioles game. We haven't been there in 20 years at the stadium and or the ballpark, and you know, it's a little slower. You know, moving through crowds become a little bit more of a challenge. You know, fortunately, she is active. She's mobile. She's not in a restrictive chair. She hasn't had the, you know, exasperations like Annie mentioned. So we've been very fortunate in that case, but definitely things have slowed down. A couple of things that have also picked up is, you know, she gets a little tremors occasionally, and when she's sleeping, I have this habit of if I'm awake and she's sleeping, you know, she'll jump. You know, you get that dream every now and then that you're falling. Hers happens often, and I'll reach over and catch myself kind of holding on to her where she's going to, you know, fall off the bed or something. So I'm kind of always conscious of that. Little things like that. Again, we've been very fortunate, but you know, I'm trying to learn myself to slow down to her pace, to kind of stay with her and help her through those scenarios.
Okay, got you. So let me ask you another question for both of you. Firstly, you both work, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Annie, what does your husband do for himself when you're not there? Or do you have somebody else that helps?
We have a home health aide that's here the hours I'm not here.
Okay, thank you. And Howard, what about you?
So Michelle and I both work. She works a modified full-time schedule. She works about 32 and a half hours a week. So 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, she gets off at 2:00. For her, she goes and she rests. She takes naps, and you know, that really helps her for the rest of the afternoon, the weekends. I'm home 90% of the time. I'm sitting in my home office right now. This is where I work from. But when I'm away from the office, you know, she does pretty well. There's not a lot of support she needs from that perspective. Knock on wood. You know, we may or may not get there down the road, but again, like I said, we've been very fortunate in that respect.
Okay, so thank you for that. So, and congratulations on your daughter. All right, going to the next thing. Do you find that you've both like built up some kind of similar curriculum that you do each day, so that way it's become more like a schedule that you're doing each day? Like regarding getting up in the morning, bathing, I don't know when you bathe, but whether it's night or during the day, dressing. You already both said that you do all the driving or primarily do the driving. And I don't know about cooking, laundry, or cleaning. So can you tell us about that, Annie?
Yes, so I do have a schedule because as soon as the aide gets here is when I leave to the office, and then I schedule my return based on approximately by the time she leaves, I should arrive back home. I don't keep too much of a gap where he's alone. So before I leave, I have to make sure he's up, he's had his morning medications. I've left breakfast for him. I leave all the snacks for him, and then I will head off to the office. By the time I get back, we have lunch together, and then I'm usually here for, I should say a late lunch. We pretty much do late lunches most of the time, because by the time I actually get back from the office, we're looking at about 2 o'clock, and then I work from home the rest of the day.
Great, thank you. And Howard, your turn.
Yeah, I would say I don't think we have as much of a schedule. Again, and I'm going to keep saying it. We are very fortunate to be in a situation that's drastically different, which is one of the kind of I guess cruel ironies of MS. My wife is certainly falling into the category of "but you look so good," and so we've been very fortunate in that respect. Like, for example, I take the train here in Orlando to my office when I do go work. But I know if there's medicine I have to pick up, I'll change the station I use so I'm closer to the pharmacy in the afternoon instead of having to drive a longer distance. So I'll make modifications, but we don't have a specific schedule per se. To add to the complexity of our fortunate nature, we also are caregivers for my mother who lives with us. She does not have MS, but when I'm not here, Michelle is, helping her when she needs it here in the house and things like that. So, again, knock on wood, whatever superstition you take, we've been very fortunate and been able to put her on some really fantastic therapies. And honestly, Patricia is her practitioner. So we've known Patricia for probably almost the whole time that she's been diagnosed, which I appreciate as well. So.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I have a question online for you guys, and that is both of these care partners, well, it's not a question, I guess it's a statement. Both of these care partners are phenomenal and deserve a round of applause. So I'll do it for everybody, okay? There we go. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Monique, for that. Next. I want to know about the two of you for yourselves. How do you feel where you are in this space? I mean, where do you get your breaks? How do you do for yourselves? What kind of difficulties do you feel that you each have going forward? And how do you deal with all of that? So, Howard, I'm going to start with you first because you're laughing the most.
So the first thing I'll tell you is how my wife thinks I get my breaks. As I mentioned, I've had the opportunity of working in specialty pharmacy and the pharmaceutical industry for the last 7 years, and I've traveled quite extensively. So she thinks when I go out on travel, it's all fun and games, and I get my break there. She's still caring for my mom when I'm away. Yes, there is an opportunity. I don't have to take care of the pets and things like that, but it's helpful. But for me, I think the struggle. I'd talk about where my struggles are. Not necessarily the breaks. We each do our own thing. We do things together. We've traveled, internationally. We actually had a wonderful trip to South Africa earlier this year, and it was just really fantastic. But my struggles come in back to what I said. Kind of having to learn to slow myself down, or I get caught in that trap saying, "But you look so good. Why are we slowing down? Why aren't we just, pushing through the crowd?" And so I struggle with that a little bit. And that's where I have to find my balance with her.
Right.
The career that I have moved into, and this came purely by accident. My experience with specialty, dealing with the specialty pharmacies as a caregiver, helped me get into this when I got laid off out of IT. Just things happened and the opportunity presented itself. But I think that's also provided me, the fortunate nature of, being close to everything that's happening. I work with some of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers. They have MS drugs and, neurofocus. I don't just focus on MS, but I've had the opportunity to be very close, at some different levels than most people would normally.
Right.
And I appreciate and value that. And I think that's also helped her. I've learned about things on the cutting edge forefront that, we can approach and ask Patricia about. And one of the other things that was a large struggle was during COVID. Because of the medicine she was on, her second year going into it was right in the thick of COVID, so there was some delays there, and it was more frustrating for my wife because I wouldn't let her out of the house. Like I would go to the grocery store on, the rare occasion that we needed to get something and, go through all the weird, being counted in and out, masks, look like you were in the middle of a, apocalyptic movie or something. And she's like, I just want to go. I go, you're welcome to go, but you're not getting out of the car. We were very, very scared for her. What is that going to cause? Because the medicine she was on was essentially eliminating her immune system or significantly reducing it. So, fortunately, we got through that. But those are the places that I struggle. Like, what's right and what's wrong for her, and also remembering that she does have something wrong. There is a chronic condition that she's dealing with that sometimes, in all honesty, I forget.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. Annie, your turn. Lay it on me.
Okay, so in the last 2 years, it's been a lot harder for me to, I guess, run and take long breaks like that or be away. I have started doing, I guess either you can call them side gigs, or I was starting to do crafting, things to keep me busy, even if I'm home, even if I'm caring for him. But it's stuff that I can do to distract myself, and just for fun, really, not really for anything else, but for the fun of it, so that it helps me. And that's really what I did. But the funny thing, Howard, is you mentioned traveling for work. In the last 2 years, every time we've traveled, I have to take Manoj with me. I don't travel alone anymore. There was a time where I could when he was able to be alone, but now he makes fun of me that I say this, but I just don't trust him alone. So
that's actually funny. Yes. That's actually funny. Yes. So, you stole my last question that I had for you, Annie. And that was, what do you do for hobbies or activities that you participate in? So is there anything else that you do that you could share?
Not really, because a lot of things had cut down since COVID, a lot of the other extracurricular we used to do. That's why I started crafting and selling crafts and starting other side hustles while I was home during COVID. And I just continued with that. I can't say that I also help take care of my parents. So, and they don't live too far. So sometimes I run over to them and I help them out, but, get to sit and talk to them. So, it's kind of like a quick break, but not really, because sometimes I'm running errands for them or taking care of stuff for them too. So keeps me busy.
I'm understanding that about helping with the parents these days. What a thing that is, right? All right. So Howard, what about you? What kind of hobbies do you have?
Well, I back in 2013, I took up running just for a personal health journey. I haven't run in about 2 years. I had a personal injury that I'm just a little hesitant about. I'm very cautious. I don't want to re-injure it. I really do like running. I'm going to turn aside for a minute. That picture right there, right behind me, is my first marathon. That was in 2015, the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. And I actually ran that and raised money for the National MS Society in D.C. And I did it in honor of my wife and others that we know. I recently picked up a hobby only. I will put that disclaimer on there of picking locks, working on that. Maybe another career, who knows? Not a bad career, but on the good side of things. And I like working in my garage and hanging out with friends. And traveling. We like traveling.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So I think that's it. I think that's all we have, unless somebody else had something to ask, but I don't think so. And so I'm going to thank you both for being on here, for sharing your journeys. I mean, it's very important for people to understand, what others might be how they're living. It's not going through, but what you're living. All right. It's part of your journey. It's part of what you wanted to have. And I greatly appreciate that. And, I'm looking forward to my roles as I go forward in what I do as well. And especially with my parents too. So, it's all going to be very interesting, but, for anybody that has any questions, if anybody has any questions for me, I see one person has another comment. Stuart, your questions are great, and your care partners are really good speakers too. Of course they are. That's why I chose them. Thank you very much, Kay. Thank you very much for asking that question. All right.
Thank you for everything you've done, and it's a pleasure knowing you all, these many years as well. So thank you for everything you do for the community.
Long time. Thank you very much, Howard. Annie, have a great night. Please say hello to your husband. And Patricia, thank you again for being here. And we look forward to doing our next program in just 1.5 weeks. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.